Well, Mississippi State's schedule this year, let's just say it's not for the faint of heart. They're set to face more preseason ranked teams than anyone else in the country. What does that mean for their season? We're breaking it down right after this.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. My name is Jaron Spor. I'm a national college football writer at Athlon Sports. That's Landon McBride. We got more college football to talk to you today. What did Mississippi State spend NIL-wise on their roster this year? There's a rumor going around. If that number is true, we're going to break down if we think that is okay. Should they be spending more? Should they be spending less? We'll talk about that. Also, the football team got a new commitment. Who is that and how big of an impact he could make right away? We'll talk about that at the end of the show. But first, we got to talk about the AP poll. It came out Monday, which means football season's right around the corner. Yeah. And I will say this, I do not like preseason polls because they're basically just going off of brands and what teams did last year. And now
quarterbacks are coming back.
Right. And now in the transfer portal era, that's even more out the window because teams just change so much. But the one thing I do like is it signifies the season is just around the corner. And so that's the exciting thing. Gosh, 10 days from today? The 23rd is week 0. So
it snuck up on me.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for it for so long and it still sneaks up on me every year.
Yeah, so it's exciting. But on the downside, it also revealed how many preseason ranked teams Mississippi State will play, and that is 7. And for those that are wondering, that is Arizona State, that is Tennessee, that's A&M, Florida, Texas, Georgia, and Ole Miss. And Arizona State got the number 11 ranking, by the way. After everything they lost, that's going to be a tough one. I saw someone, a Mississippi State fan, say that they have to start 4-0. And I just think saying that they have to start 4-0 and have to beat an 11-ranked team in the country is crazy to believe in.
Asking a lot there. But I mean, it'd be great if they'd start 4-0, but I don't know about have to.
And we've talked about they can. We don't know. You won't know for sure if we think they will until we make our prediction. And that's not until right before the season.
And I was reading a little article today since the AP poll came out, it was one of those, how every top 25 team season can go off the rails. And Arizona State's was exactly what we've said. It doesn't matter how good you are when you lose a focal point of your offense. It can be hard to figure it out. And hey, they were riding a lot of momentum last year. A lot of good things happened for them on the field because they were talented, but still a lot of things went their way. So,
and they snuck up on people.
Yeah.
They were picked to finish last in the Big 12. They were 3-9 the year before. They snuck up on people, and now teams are going to be preparing for them. And I saw someone the other day think that they're going to go 7-5 now because teams are going to prepare for them. I don't know if I go that far just because I think Dillingham is such a good coach. And that's one reason why, Scatterboo is obviously a major loss. He was their offense, but Dillingham is so good at adapting and changing his offenses up that I could see them having a really good season. That's why it's a benefit you play in week 2.
Exactly. You get them before they have it all figured out.
Right.
Which, I mean, it says a lot about this schedule that an 11th ranked team is one we feel good about. That's how tough this schedule is when you look at it top to bottom. I mean, it's a murderer's row of a season, and getting them week 2 is a blessing, really. But yeah, it doesn't get easier. That's what's bad. You got the 11th ranked team week 2, and it really doesn't get easier.
Right. And we already knew how difficult the schedule was, but this just put the extra stamp on it. If I remember, I can't remember all the teams. Oklahoma and I believe Florida were 2 others that played 7 ranked teams, but I think there was a 4th one. I thought there was 4 that did, but I can't remember who that 4th one is. But yeah, so you could definitely argue it's the toughest schedule in America because you get obviously 6 conference games against ranked opponents of your 8. And then one of your non-conference game is against the number 11 team in the country, like we mentioned. But The one thing I will say, and this is why right now you have to put stock in the preseason poll because that's all we have. But by the time they play Tennessee, is Tennessee still ranked? And they were like 24, I believe, in the country when 24. Ole Miss is 21, so it's two teams that aren't high in there. Missouri is another one that didn't get ranked, but were a team that they received votes. I think they would unofficially be number 32 if you went off the student votes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another team obviously on the schedule. Maybe they are ranked when that game happens. And then, obviously Florida is a team that a lot of people are high on right now, but do they live up to that? We just mentioned how their schedule is brutal as well, as they also play 7 ranked teams.
Yeah.
So things can change by the time you play a lot of these schools, but it also could change in the bad way in terms of that they're higher ranked than you thought they would be.
Yeah, I mean, 7 honestly might be the minimum of ranked teams they actually play.
Right.
I mean, I think Arkansas is really the only team on this schedule outside of the non-Arizona State non-conference games that I really would be shocked if they're unranked, that they are ranked at any point in the season, just because I don't have a lot of faith in that team. But I mean, you play a ranked Missouri team, Tennessee, even if it was later in the season, I would say they're probably unranked, but I mean, was it week 5 when you play them? So unless they just really stumble out of the gate, they're probably still a top 25 team. It is.
Which they do play Syracuse to start, and they do have Georgia before Mississippi State. You'd assume they lose that Georgia game. It's at home, though, but you'd assume they lose that one. And then the Syracuse game could be a tricky one to start the season.
Yeah.
But they lose a lot. Syracuse does.
Right. This is one of those things, like you mentioned it, like we knew this was rough, but when you see it in writing and you actually can put the numbers now next to each one of these games, next to those team names, it just like clarifies it even more, just what this team is walking into.
Right.
And it's such a tough situation to be in because we've talked about how much better we feel this team can be, just how much more talent is on this roster, how much more depth they have. But you are walking into the toughest schedule in college football. Even if you're significantly better, it might translate to one more win.
Yeah, and Isaac Smith even talked about how much he thinks the defense is that much better. In an interview recently, he said they should be significantly better. I think when he was asked if they are better, he said, 100% was his exact quote. But and that's what we heard about in the scrimmage was how well they played. So there's a lot of ways I think this team can be better, but the schedule might not allow them to be better. And I would say that for the other teams that play 7 ranked teams. Like, I think Florida could be better than last year's team, but are they going to be better than the 8-5 record they had last year? Maybe not.
Probably not.
Oklahoma is another one that I think will be better than they were last year, but are they going to be better? Right. But are they going to be better than that 6-6 record they had and 6-7 after the bowl game?
Yeah.
I don't know. That because of how tough their schedules are. And Mississippi State, that stretch of Tennessee, A&M on the road, Florida on the road, Texas at home, if that's not the toughest stretch in college football, I don't know what is.
Yeah, that's an insane stretch for anyone to have to face. I mean, that's almost like going through the college football playoff, honestly.
Right.
I mean, having to run through 4 teams of that caliber in a row, that is a tough ask of anybody. And you're asking a rebuilding team and a coach in his second year trying to show improvement, to where even if you show improvement, that might be losing by 17 points instead of getting your doors blown off for 4 straight weeks.
Right.
So this is going to take, some of these stretches are going to test the mental fortitude of the Mississippi State fan base having to watch this. And you're going to go in after those first 3-4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks, maybe surprise Tennessee might be sitting there at 4-1. And then this is going to hit and it's going to be rough.
Yeah, the only positive is you get a bye week between the two. Like you play Tennessee A&M bye week, Florida, Texas. But I mean, it's just going to be a tough stretch. Hopefully you can get one in that stretch. That would be awesome. But it's just going to be a very hard uphill battle. But we'll see what happens. But all right, coming up next, NIL money is obviously a big topic right now, and especially with the new rules that are going to be put in place that put a cap. How much our team's spending on the roster. NIL has been a big issue at Mississippi State in the past. Someone's done a really good job with it. There's been a rumored number out there about how much money they are spending, Mississippi State's spending on its roster. We're going to talk about that and talk about if it's enough, and if it's not, what they need to do to change that. That's coming up next.
Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. And that's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does all the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization, that's a tough word for me, of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. And one thing I really noticed once I started using Monarch was just all the subscriptions we have. Every streaming service has to have a subscription now. All these delivery services have subscriptions. All these different websites to get your news, subscriptions. And you sign up for so many of them, you forget how much money you are spending on them. And then when you see them laid out like they do in Monarch, you can see which ones you don't need, which ones you aren't using, cancel a lot of those, and save yourself a ton of money. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. All right, so we are in the NIL and transfer portal era, obviously, and a new revenue sharing law has been passed and not implemented this year. I believe it will go into effect next year, if I remember correctly. Yeah, as of right now. Obviously, there was still some stuff they had to work out on that as well. But $20 million has kind of been the rumored cap, 20 to 21. So it's been kind of interesting to see where teams are kind of around that right now. Are they going all in and saying, hey, this is our last year to put 40 down on a roster? Or, what we're seeing, Texas Tech, kind of a team that's kind of just throwing money left and right. And I think they're basically just going to the route of, we're going to throw out money and you tell us we're doing it wrong. Until you tell us we're doing it wrong, we're going to keep doing it. And that's smart. I think it's smart. Make them tell you you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
But and their GM even talked about that. He said, "Hey, when we have a player come to us and say, hey, this team is capping me at 100,000, what do y'all go to?" He said, "I'll throw 300 on him." Like,
he's throwing money. He's
openly talking about it. He said, "Hey, I don't have any problem doing that." And so obviously every school is different because it depends on your donors, and they have like 4 billionaire oil men that just are writing blank checks, and so that helps. And that's not a bad thing. That's not me knocking them. I think that's one thing that's great about the NIL era, because it is giving a team like Tech an opportunity to get into that competition. And we'll see what ends up happening from there. But the rumor number for Mississippi State is 15 million, and kind of going, and that's just
what Tech pays for a player.
Yeah, that's just been circling around out there right now. The 15 million. I saw some people say, hey, that's not enough. I saw other people say, wow, I was surprised it was that high. I've seen other people say, no way that's true that they're spending that much. And I will say this about the rumored numbers, because it doesn't have to be put out there, so no one knows the official numbers for teams.
Right.
But I remember when the rumor was Texas was spending 40 million, and they were like, Sark even said, I wish we were spending 40 million, but and maybe they are, but I mean, you just never know is what I'm trying to say, because it doesn't have to be documented. I also think when I first heard the 15, I kind of had two thoughts. One, it was kind of like, well, that's kind of low, but that's kind of comparing it to those top dogs. So then I kind of sat there and thought, okay, well, that's actually a really good number for Mississippi State to be at. And then I had to put it in perspective also. While we think Shapen's a good quarterback, he's not getting top quarterback dollars. And that's the thing that puts you way up there. And especially if you're paying a top left tackle or you're paying a top defensive end. That's the kind of stuff that puts you in that 20, 25, $30 million. And right now, Mississippi State doesn't have that. Some of that is just they didn't have it on the roster when Lebby got here. Some of that is that they struggled, so they're not going to get that in the portal.
Right.
But as of right now, they're not paying that type of player yet, and so that's why that number's a little lower. The question is, when that time comes, when it's time to pay those players, will they have the funds to do it?
I think they will, because like we've talked about how much money Selman has been able to raise for various purposes, and now they're being able to put some toward NIL. And with all of the money already committed to the buildings, all of that already raised, those same donors can now be hit up for NIL money if, NIL still is operating like it is now, which, to go back to Texas Tech, they opted not to spend the big money on a quarterback. And
they liked what they had.
Which, bold choice. But no, like
I mean, he's solid, but he's not
the guy that you're looking at going, yeah, we're winning a title with that guy, which that's where the money is. Pass rushers, quarterbacks. And
it's the same thing as the NFL. Left tackles, pass rushers, quarterbacks. That's your money makers.
That's where it is. And something I've talked about it before, something is going to break at some point under this model if they don't fix it. And what they've done now is a toothless fix. Like, they can claim it, but it's not going to fix anything. But I think the money's there. Will they be able to pony it up year over year?
Right.
Probably not. I think this is going to be, if you build a team like they kind of are now, in that like 7, 8, 9, 10 to $12 million a year range. You build a solid team. There's proof of concept. And then like that whole team comes back. I could see the donors really going all in, committing to NIL to bring in like 4 or 5 players that they think are the missing piece to put a team over the top.
Right, because people got to remember that $20 million cap, if it actually is, like, we're just going to go like it is strictly enforced, although there's going to be definitely side deals going on that's going to put teams over that.
Well, let's just side deals in college football.
Let's just go with the $20 million cap. That's for all sports. That's not just football. Now, I think a lot of teams are going to use just about all of it on football, as they should. It's the moneymaker.
Football, yeah.
Yeah, and so if you think about it from Mississippi State's standard, if they did $15 million of the $20 million for football, that actually is really good, because obviously they have a great baseball program. They have a really good softball, really good basketball, men's and women's. And so if you disperse that $5 million out for those, and then you put $15 million to football, I think you got a sustainable style of operating. And we talked about that back when it was passed, that if you really want to compete and you go off the cap, you need to be in that 12 to 15 million range, depending on your other sports. And so I think 15 million would be big time. But yeah, I mean, obviously for this year, that number seems low because there is no cap. But again, because you just went 2-10, because you don't have like these stars all over the roster. Obviously, Isaac Smith is one that's going to be paid, and Blake Shapen is paid decently well. He's a quarterback. But because you don't have these stars all over the field, you're not going to be hitting that 25 million. So you shouldn't expect that much. I'm almost of the opinion, like some of the other people, that I don't know if they hit 15, because that seems like a lot. It seems like they might be overpaying some players.
Which, to their point, kind of like in the NFL, if you're a bad team, sometimes you have to overpay a little bit to get some players to come play for you. So some of these guys they got in the portal, they may have had to, maybe the guy was getting offered like 100K somewhere, and they had to go 200, 250 to get the guy in the building because they didn't show the proof on the field last year. Now, it's kind of that whole, double-edged sword. You're a better team, you get better players, but you still have to pay those better players a ton of money. It's just a whole thing. I would be shocked if it's 15 million. I bet it's more, probably in the 10 to 12 range would be my guess. And the majority of it is in the offensive backfield between Booth, Fluff, and Shapen. I think those three are probably, and then Thompson and Evans probably getting the next most out of those guys. And then obviously who knows? Isaac Smith, maybe a couple of the defensive linemen, paid guys, but it's hard to say because none of it's public. What is made public, it's because that school wants you to know how much they're paying people. So it's a weird situation.
The one thing I would say to kind of watch out for is because, like, if you look at Tech, for example, and we bring up Tech because Tech's the most open about it. and they were the number one transfer portal class, depending on where you looked. LSU was number one, or Tech was one, depending on where you look. They're going out and they're spending this top dollars for starter players, and that's fine. But I saw this the other day, and it was talking about the expanded playoff and how the idea was, hey, you expand the playoffs, more teams have a chance to win a national championship. You get a group of 5 team in that would have never made it before.
Mm-hmm.
But does it actually help them? Or does it actually, because now it's a 16-game season, help the powerhouses that are deep and deeper than every other team out there? And their point also on that was, now Boise State goes to the playoffs, gets dominated by Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they would rather have that, or would they rather have when they beat Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl and they ended on this undefeated season, had this magical game? And I understand both sides, because I think on one hand they'd be like, hey, we'd rather have the chance to compete for a national championship, whether we get beat or not. And I think, but on the other hand, I think they also would love to have a win at the end of the season in a big bowl game. But I do think, like, we're not seeing Georgia have 3 guys at one position of 5-star. So I think it is leveling it out from that instance. But I think what's happening is that third guy is now just going to be a backup at Ohio State, or going to be a backup at Michigan, or maybe a starter at Michigan, and the starter that was at Michigan is now the backup. And I think you're seeing more of that. Like, they're still not going out to these small schools.
No, they're not. It's the same teams. It's just the talent is slightly differently distributed.
Right.
And those same
and now you're giving them 16 games. And what we know from the NFL is the deeper teams, the more games you play, the deeper teams are the ones that are going to keep winning. And that's what we're seeing. But all right, coming up next, Mississippi State got a new football commitment. We'll talk about it. All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so on Monday, I believe it was, Mississippi State got a 3-star JUCO. I believe he's the number 1 offensive tackle, or number 2, depending on where you look in the JUCO ranks. Jermaine Mitchell committed to Mississippi State. I love Phil Loadhold's gift that he put out, by the way. But before,
that was great.
Before Mitchell committed, but he had a ton of good offers. Now, they listed in the tweet that they put out, he's 6'8", 310. That has to be his high school weight, because On 3 has him at 6'8", 355. Funny enough, I was going to come on here and rant about how he needed to get that weight up, but then if he's 355, that's actually a good weight.
I'm looking at his highlights right now. I got him up. He's not 310. That man's not 310.
He's probably 310 was probably what he came out of high school at, but
probably.
He had some elite offers. LSU was one, Ole Miss was one, Colorado is another one. And then he had some good G5 schools on there as well. UTSA, Florida Atlantic, heck, even Southern Miss was on there. UTEP, USF. So he had some really, really good offers. It didn't say on here when the offer went out. I'm wondering if that Colorado offer was when Loadholt was there. I bet it was, if I had to guess. But he'll be a 2026 commit, so he'll be on the roster next year. And I mean, this dude, he looks good.
We've joked about Loadhold recruiting guys who looks like him. He's finally found himself.
Yeah,
he finally found the 6'8" guy.
Yeah,
some of his highlights at JUCO are almost hilarious, because you get like a blitzing linebacker at JUCO level who's like 6 foot 200, and he just tosses the guy.
Yeah.
He looks like he has very strong hands, moves pretty well, a little bit of foot quickness issues. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he redshirts when he gets here, just kind of to get him up to speed a little bit with a lot of the guys, but he'll be in that competition. He's a big guy. He's a strong guy. It'll be interesting to see if he does have the speed, though, to keep up with the guys on the edge.
Yeah, and he did an interview. He said, I really like the coaches there, and they are straightforward. Coach Loadhold is up front, and he keeps it simple. He's a great coach, and we got really tight lately. Same thing with Coach Jeff Lebby, and we are tight too. He knows offensive linemen. You know, Jeff Lebby was an offensive lineman in college, and has obviously mainly been a quarterback's coach in college as a coach, but he was an offensive lineman. But, you know, he's a guy that came to one of Mississippi State's camp sessions. He was offered last year, so actually before Loadholt got there, but he came to one of Mississippi State's camp sessions in June, and just kind of started having a good feeling about them at that point. And Yeah, I mean, for you to beat out a lot of different high profile teams, that's obviously another plus, where we talked about how you got to be in the battles to win the battles. Well, they were in the battle and they won the battle.
Yeah, that's a big one. And it, goes back to what we talked about, the relationship building that this staff is able to do. So I think it's kind of proof of concept. If this team shows improvement on the field, not talking about winning 6 games next year, but just gets better, and the NIL backing is there, this coaching staff can put together the winner.
Yeah, he's now the 6th offensive lineman to join the class. He's also a teammate of Matt Mayfield, who obviously is a commit as well. And he will be at Mississippi State next for his official visit on November 28th. That's obviously the Egg Bowl. So that'll be a lot of fun. So, all right. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors and portal entries and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. All right, I'm Jaron. Check out my work over at Athlon Sports. That's Landon. Follow us, Locked On Mississippi State. We're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We post daily videos Monday through Friday, so check that out. Also on YouTube, hit that like, subscribe, ring the bell, get notified anytime we post anything. We're up to 730 subscribers, so thank you guys so much. Yeah, we're getting closer to our 1,000 subscriber goal by early college football season, so thank you guys so much for subscribing. And yeah, we can't wait for the season to start. But until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.